Hello, everyone. In my introduction, my orientation to these four mini courses that are prerequisites to the larger course, the 3-month course called The Dwelling Place, Reflections on My Journey Towards Spiritual Wholeness, I mentioned to you that by participating in what I call Embrace the Foundation Spiritual Wellness Coaching for a Balanced Life, you will embark on a transformative journey. And this journey will be from insecurity and uncertainty to a life of authentic self acceptance, spiritual grounding, and purposeful living. You will find the strength, support, and guidance needed to overcome past traumas, rediscover your true purpose, and build a resilient and fulfilling life anchored in faith and love. The levels you have been through, the first one is called the search, the second one, the pilgrimage, the third, the journey, and this final one we're going to call the balance. All right, so as I have done in the past, I will take you through the spiritual wellness quiz and I will share with you my answers. Let me maybe not share the screen right now so I can just see you. So, level 4 spiritual wellness quiz is based on spiritual balance. And the first question is, how would you define spiritual wellness and its significance in overall well being? Spiritual wellness encompasses a deep connection with one's inner self, a deep sense of purpose, and a strong relationship with God. It involves nurturing the soul and seeking spiritual growth through prayer, meditation, and reflection. You will find the answer in chapter 1, page 1. Now, before I go on, I just want to say that as a student of Bible school student, a seminary student, and even postgraduate work, you may have found that your spiritual formation, your spiritual foundation was similar to quicksand, and there was no firmness to it. But as you go through, your education, and as you pass your courses, as you pass your degrees, your diplomas, and then spend time pondering, wondering about the kinds of things you learned. Don't give up on on practicing, because spiritual wellness is a process and it takes time. It doesn't come overnight. And so when we're talking here about it encompassing a deep connection with one's inner self, is if you can picture the onion layers, right? Like we talk about that in recovery. It's like peeling off onion layers of unforgiveness, resentments, abandonments, all kinds of issues that we've been carting around with us for most of our life. And we're able to address those and leave those behind. And by doing that, we're nurturing our soul. And you have heard me say it before. Before I actually attended seminary, I didn't know it was okay to even talk about the soul, or that the soul needed healing. And I honestly don't know where I picked that belief up, that understanding. But it has been a beautiful journey to discover that my soul is valuable. It's indeed alive, and it does need healing. It does need attention. All right, so going on to the next question. In what ways does a balanced spiritual life contribute to mental and emotional stability? Well, nurturing the soul and strengthening one's relationship with God is what contributes to mental and emotional stability. And again, I want to share because in my life, I have not always been emotionally stable. And definitely, I've had deep moments of mental anguish, even to the point of suicide. And what has helped me heal, what has helped me become more joyful and more resilient and actually more, how should I, more looking, I look forward to life, right? And that has been the process of nurturing the soul and strengthening my relationship with God. Number 3, how can one distinguish between a healthy pursuit of spiritual growth and an unhealthy obsession with spirituality? Well, there are people who believe that the only way God will love them is if they work, right? If they, um, um, and I'm not saying that people aren't called to stand at the street corner and preach, but some people feel that they have to do things for God before He accepts them. And in that way, their spirituality may be like an obsession, where they feel if they don't do certain things, God will punish them or God will not love them. In a healthy pursuit of spiritual growth encompasses surrender, a surrender to God, and waiting on Him for timing, waiting on Him for what's next, waiting on Him for the journey of transformation. How do various spiritual practices such as meditation or prayer contribute to maintaining spiritual balance? Well, they help us experience God's transformative power in our lives, right? They help us experience His love, His grace, His mercy. And we just become softer on the inside, right? Our heart is no longer like mine. Mine was like an iceberg, and it was frozen. It couldn't let any love in. It couldn't let any acceptance in. It refused that. But in time, that ice has melted, and there is more compassion, more warmth, more understanding for myself and for others. Can you discuss the role of community and social connections in spiritual wellness? Well, it's important. We should not forsake the assembly of one another. Now, this is a truth, of course, it's scripture. But what I'd like to add at this point is attending community and social events, even church events, can be like an obsession. And what I mean by that is when my children were younger, okay, they needed me. But do you know where I was? I was at church because I felt obligated to attend Bible studies, women's Bible studies, and Wednesday Bible study, and Thursday music practice, and Sunday church. And so when this kind of lifestyle becomes an obsession, and we do not take care of the little ones in our lives, that is a grave error. And we do face our consequences later in life. How can cultural and religious beliefs impact an individual's perception of spiritual balance? Belonging and doing what is expected may be a measuring stick. Okay, so again, is running around thinking, okay, God needs me to spend um, hours and hours at church, right? I need to be there for every prayer meeting. I need to be there for for every event that takes place. For me, I used to work full time, and I spent time at church. I didn't miss any meetings, neglecting my family. And on top of it, what I would do is take my holidays. And you know what I would do? I would paint the church. I didn't have special times with my children set aside because it was an obsession. It was a very unspiritual way of living my life. So, and I didn't realize that inner peace and balance is actually available. That the inside of me that was so angry, which I didn't know, the part of me that always wanted to yell at people and shout and make sure I was heard, that part was not at all balanced. It was not a pleasant feeling to live like that. It was not joyfulness or happiness. It was actually very sad thinking about it. So, what are some common obstacles people face in achieving and maintaining spiritual balance? So, let's say moving away from a long-term community, right? It may be very difficult for some because you need to find a new church, and that may be difficult to get to know new people and to adjust to new ways of how things are done. A person may have insecurities, right? And when they comparing themselves to others and not feel comfortable to go into a new place, they may face poverty. And I don't know about you, but having been very poor most of my life, and then comparing myself to others who had the nicest hairdos and always perfect makeup on and beautiful clothes, I did not feel like I belonged there. Of course, I didn't realize that they had charged their credit cards to the max just to look like that, whereas I don't do that. But just the idea that I'm poor and the way I am dressed and the way my hair is unacceptable kept me, it was an obstacle to reaching out and becoming part of new communities. How can the concept of gratitude be integrated into spiritual practices to enhance balance? Most days when I wake up, I have a sense of being grateful, right? I'm grateful about life, home. I have all my provisions. I'm not hungry. I have clothes. And I especially have my sweet, sweet partner, Brian, whom I'm very thankful for. And those of you who will get to know me more or watch some of my other YouTube videos, and you will have heard or maybe will hear about some of my story, my previous story, you know that having someone sweet, someone respectful, someone who honors me is such a turnaround from what my life was like, I don't know, 25 years ago or something. I guess more than that, in 1979. So, but even in having the right partner, the right spouse in your life will create balance, will bring balance, right? You will feel more secure. And it says here, what are the potential risks of neglecting spiritual wellness and balance in my life or in one's life. We may walk away, right? We may get offended. Somebody may say something and we misunderstand. Maybe the pastor is pointing a finger and at something that we're doing in our life, and we really may feel like it was unjustified and unable to forgive or unable to sit down and talk with that person, and we just walk away. Or sometimes we get sidetracked into other religions, into other ways of doing life. What are some effective strategies or techniques for restoring spiritual balance when feeling spiritually disconnected or unbalanced? So pray, right? Every morning, I journal. I journal out my prayers. I don't speak them out very often anymore. I worship. Sometimes I wake up with a worship song on my mouth even. Right? There's one that's stirring in me throughout the night. Talking to a mentor, right? It's always helpful to have someone who is more advanced in your studies, someone who is not afraid to speak the truth to you, to have someone like that in your life, a spiritual mentor, a spiritual director, a pastor. And then journaling. As I mentioned already, I do journal every morning, and I journal during some of my expressive art adventures, and even in Lectio Divina, type of Bible studies, and so on and so forth. Okay, and the good thing about journaling is that you can take a look at where you were, right, and where you are today. Okay, I love looking back and finding out that the Lord spoke to me about something that at that time didn't make any sense, but later on it does. So I'm, very happy to be able to share some of these effective strategies or techniques with you. What I will do today is I will actually end this recording, which is the conversation about the spiritual wellness quiz, and I will begin over with spiritual wellness coaching, finding balance, spiritual practices for lifelong Christian leaders when I return.